Hi, John.
Hey, Alex.
Do you know what I hate?
What's that?
Elrond. Oh, wait. There's a knock on my door. Hold on. What's that? Don't. You'll put me. Yes, I know she's missing for a long time. Oh. Elrond from Lord of the Rings. So anyway, let's talk about the movie The Master. As a little bit like pretending that the Church of Scientology was knocking on my door.
Mm-hmm. And that you could actually hate Elrond from Lord of the Rings when he's the glue that holds that picture together.
You know, when I was a kid, for people that are younger than us, significantly younger as well, you know what I'm saying? The Church of Scientology used to have commercial spots constantly during the day. Like anytime you were home school from sick and would watch Price is Right, there would be commercials for the Book of Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard. Now, I knew who Elrond was from Lord of the Rings, and I thought his name was Elrond, not L. Ron Hubbard. And it was like, I'm not saying I was like, I wasn't like fully matured by the time I realized it, but I was older than, like, I was double digits old before I went like, oh, yeah, it's L. Ron, not Elrond.
I just remember the cool graphic of the volcano. That's all I remember about it, was the volcano exploding.
The Master... Boy, I have trouble talking about this movie.
I actually want to do a supercut of every time the show starts with you going, I don't know how to talk about this movie.
Yeah, you go for it. Yeah, and then cut in all the times I lust after. I guess this is what I'm going to say. I've rarely felt bad about my opinion of a movie before. Mm-hmm. I want to like this movie. Mm-hmm. I desperately want to like this movie, and I'm kind of mad at myself because I don't like this movie very much. It's not the plot kind of blows, and yeah, the acting's great, but I don't care. Like the acting's great. I wish I could just watch the scenes where they're acting a bunch, and because there's no real other plot and nothing gets resolved, and I'm not here for it, and it makes me sad because this movie is everything I should like.
Well, it's interesting because like I had a very similar reaction my first watching. We were talking about it briefly off mic, and like Roger Ebert's review of it was like, well, I like this, but I'm not sure there's any there. Like this parts of it were neat, but I don't, what does it add up to? And I will say that like subsequent viewings of this movie has possibly turned it into my favorite P.T. Anderson movie. I'm not
really,
I really, really like this one. I like, as I probably talked about on the show before, I'm much more of a fan of later Paul Thomas Anderson, like much more the Johnny Greenwood soundtracks versus whoever that piano player guy was. I'm blanking on what his name was, but that like his like Magnolia. Elton John. Yeah. No, this one, it's so much more of like a book than a movie, but it's like, it's so beautiful. It's shot in 70 millimeter, and so much of that time, at least space, is spent on close-ups of people. And I just think it's a gorgeous film. And yeah, the acting is fantastic. I love it. I think it's one of those, it's not very like cut and dry. There's a lot of stuff just isn't really solved. There's sort of themes that are just kind of wafted at you, and you're, it leaves it open enough for you to make interpretations, but not in this way to me that's sort of like slipshod. It's like, well, hey, you decide. I'm not going to bother with it. It's very thoughtfully done. But it is tough because it is like just these snippets of this relationship with these two men.
I don't disagree with you. I just want more. Like, I think for a story to exist as something that you can start having the question of, well, what did this mean? What's this character's motivation? Like the more nuanced stuff, you need a plot. You need something to happen. And there's nothing ties this movie together other than their relationship. And I don't think their relationship evolves, essentially at all. There's a bit, but it's any scene at the end could have been the second scene with them. It's not... I don't know. I was left wanting, and it sucks because I really wanted to I was like, is there a longer cut that makes me like this movie? Like, there's got to be something that could fix this for me.
It's a bit like, Licorice Pizza is a little bit like that too, where it's, that's largely just kind of a hangout picture. These two young people just kind of futzing about going, there's a through line of him with the different businesses or whatever. And this is certainly more sparse than that. But I don't think their relationship stays the same necessarily the whole time, because you have like their growing affection, and then Freddy's sort of like him finally getting through to Freddy with some of the processing or whatever, and then Freddy like really becoming enamored with him at that, but then fighting back these like, this might be bullshit. And then the differing sort of falling outs, and Freddy kind of realizing, Freddy sort of realizing it's bullshit and running away, but then also like feeling like he still desperately needs this bizarre family. And boy, speaking of that, like real quick, I'll say on the subject of casting, Rami Malek should only play wormy nerds.
I was going to make the exact same point. There couldn't be better casting for that role. He has that face where you just don't know what to do with it in your brain, and it's just perfect for this.
Yeah, and he's just like, no, teacher, like I've got a tattle on this guy, and he's just ugh.
He's really good. Yeah. And he's got the other guy that has that same kind of thing is your boy that's in this.
Jesse Plemons.
Jesse Plemons. Yeah. He's got that, not the same thing, but he's got a face where he's like, there's only certain things you can do with that face, but like they're all great. And like this movie, it's not like he's there for much of it, but like I like him in it.
He's great. I read a review of it that described him as very present for it. And I think that's actually true. Like, not like that he was just there, but like he, for having little to do, I think he did a lot with it.
Yeah.
And it's also,
Amy Adams, same way.
Oh yeah. She is absolutely wonderful. Again, like doing a much more sort of like pulled back role, but still like powerful and I think integral to their relationship as well. Like I think I was getting a kick out of Jesse Plemons playing his son because I'd forgotten about that. And then he's also Al Pacino's son in The Irishman. And so I'm just like, he keeps getting cast as the sons of these like charismatic leaders of sorts. And then there's Jesse Plemons.
I mean, he could definitely look like Philip Seymour Hoffman's son.
Yeah.
Like that, there's a through line between those two.
Yeah. And he's great. And Philip Seymour Hoffman in this, man, he's great. He is, I'm just going to say the word great a lot, but very, like you don't get the sense that he, like for being ostensibly like a cult leader or whatever, this L. Ron Hubbard type character, you don't get the sense that he thinks it's a racket. Like it seems like he genuinely believes in this stuff. You see why people are drawn to him. He's so like big hearted and what's the word? I almost said bubbly, but that's not right at all. But just like effusive and fun, very sort of emotional, whatever. And then he will snap. That's there, but it seems like that's very sort of focused and otherwise it's people are with him out of love, not fear. And I think that was an interesting.
Yeah. His performance is terrific, but that brings me to the other kind of problem I have with the movie. Problem was the wrong word. The thing that didn't grab me was the cult was too sympathetic to the point that it seems like from a character perspective, because I don't think Joaquin Phoenix really grows all that much. He just staying there would be better. Like, it's great. And like, they're nice people. You get to hang out in England. Like, it's terrific. And I think you either need to do from like, for this to have a plot, which it doesn't. I mean, it's got a plot, but it's barely a plot. For it to have like a plot, you would need to have either maybe a wink that Philip Seymour Hoffman knows he's bullshitting. Or, I don't know, make the cult a little cultier. Because, like, honestly, I was just like, I kind of like these people. Like, I'd hang out with them.
Sure.
Like, this doesn't paint them in any kind of, I don't know, I was kind of left wanting. I want a direction in that. Like, nothing had like, other than like, oh, look, it's id, ego, super ego, which I think everybody commented on. But, like, I mean, I barely even saw Paul F. Tompkins in this. So...
Paul F. Tompkins?
Yeah, it's a really dumb super ego joke.
Okay.
I know what I'm saying, but I'm annoyed with myself. I want to like this movie. It's got weird cult shit. It's got a failed writer. It's got fucking good acting, and it looks beautiful. Why don't I like this movie?
There is a review I read. Richard Brody at the in Deuce Richard Brody for the New Yorker or New York Magazine, I forget which, said like the first time I saw this movie, I was too preoccupied with what it isn't, and the second time I saw it, I started to enjoy it for what it is, and I had a very similar reaction. And so I don't think I disagree with you. I'm not saying you're wrong though. It is a movie that I eventually, because it was like later I was like, you know what, I'll give this another shot, and it worked for me that time because I think I was a little bit less worried about it. But I do think that it is that while that id superhero thing is there, it's also kind of like a simplistic way to look at it, because you have this Freddie Quell, who is Joaquin Phoenix's character. He's this guy getting out of after World War II. And in fact, some of his, I learned that some of his talk to the psychologist that's talking to him at the very beginning of the movie about like, oh, you had a crying spell. And he's like, I believe you would call it nostalgia. That's lifted from a documentary called Let There Be Light that John Huston did about people coming back from war. And that the he did for the State Department. The State Department just like buried it for 30 years because there's like, this doesn't help us recruit people, like
Gotcha.
get out of here. Yeah. And so that was lifted word for word, but it's interesting. Like the guy that says it is a lot more like explaining himself, whereas Freddy's so much more like combative, like I'm not crying, fuck you. Like he is this sort of animal. You get these hints about what happened to him in the past and maybe some shit happened during the war or whatever. And I think you have like for Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, you have someone that sees him as that, wants to keep him as like a pet, is like this example of like, well, maybe we can fix him and take this savage and evolve him into my point of view, but also like relishes in being able to have an outlet for that part of him and seeing that part of him and repressing it himself. But then, as I said before, like you have like Freddy falling in love with him because he kind of, through their little processing thing they do, like actually made Freddy kind of start to admit some of his pain and stuff like that. And it seems like Freddy being this sort of self-destructive person, or at least like, constantly running away from his problems. And, his whole thing with the Doris, the woman he loves, that he just like ran away from her, that he does like kind of experiencing that pain and punishing himself for that. Cause like, it seems like some of that was done because he doesn't feel like he's worthy or something. And so there's this weird kind of like, not sadomasochistic, but there's kind of a relationship of pain between them that they both sort of enjoy. And I thought that was very interesting without being like, so like on the nose about it.
That part, yeah, their relationship is beautiful. Mm-hmm. And those are the scenes that I really love. The other thing, and other people read this the same way, it's not just me doing, the normal Alex shtick, but reading it as it's the master trying to deal with the fact that he's homosexual, mm-hmm. that the whole kind of his bravado and whatever is all kind of stagecraft, and like the animal side that he's fighting against to make him human is all just kind of metaphor for him kind of fighting with the idea of being gay in 1950 or whatever. And it comes out with this, when he sees this unrestrained id walk in, he's like, oh my God, that's what I want to be. I want to fuck dudes, but I can't. Right. So, this is all this weird repression turns into, the Church of the Way or whatever the fuck it is.
Well, there's a certain amount of that with Amy Adams. And like nothing bad has necessarily happened. You're seeing like they're at the house, the Laura Dern's house, with a group of people there doing the processing, having a good time. And then it seems like Philip Seymour Hoffman's character gets super drunk or something, because all of a sudden it cuts to the room is full of people and all the women are nude. And he's singing like, I will no longer go a roving. He gets, someone on the piano to play it. And then after that, it cuts to Amy. He's getting ready for bed. And you just see like the back of him in the bathroom. And Amy Adams comes in and starts talking about how, like, I don't care what you do. I can't know about it. No one we know can know about it, and jerks him off into the sink. But she's also like, you got to say no more booze and no more Freddy. And so there was this sort of like sexual control thing going on there that, I think plays into that. And it's two men that don't know how to react to that kind of thing. I think you see that a little bit at the end too with Freddy when he picks up the British girl and he's kind of trying to do some processing with her, that he's kind of sort of trying to create that relationship a little bit, or like recognize that was a thing that felt good to him and maybe he can do that. But at the same time, he is just sort of, naked and fucking again, which is what his primal state seems to be.
Yeah. That nude scene is interesting. The beginning of the scene established that everybody's in clothing, and then there's like a quick mm-hmm. cut, and then all the women are naked. And I wonder, so I read it as that's Freddy's vision, not Elrond. Like that, because Freddy's like even that's why even the old people are naked, and, not saying old people can't be sexy, but, let's face it, they can't, they're gross and should die. So like everybody's naked because he's just unrestrained, just like he would fuck anything. But also it's a cult thing. So like it could readily be that shit just went weird. Like that party went on, but they did have clothes on for a while. Then out of nowhere, they were all naked. It felt a little like, I think this is a dream sequence.
Like they're so safe here and so above their animalistic urges. Look, we can have all the women be naked and we're not even worried about it. Don't worry, it's fine. Men, keep your clothes on though, because dicks are gross.
There's another kind of weird aspect to this. So there's both these characters reminded me so strongly of other people that it kind of threw me off a little bit. And that's totally on me. This is not a representative of the film. I'm going to keep calling him Elrond. What's his actual name?
Lancaster Dodd.
Oh, I'm going to call him Master. That's a dumb name. So Master really reminds me of Orson Welles in Citizen Kane.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's very caney.
Yeah. He's got that, like, because that scene where he's singing reminds me of that when he's with that big dance sequence in Citizen Kane with, mm-hmm. There is a man, a certain man, like that whole, and then Joaquin Phoenix, and I never noticed it, and I think it's just his costume and his hair, is holy fuck does he look like Jack Kerouac. And like that kind of colored some of it for me, like, you know, because it's bohemian and like some of the kind of, I don't know, mannerism or whatever. And I couldn't find any reference to Anderson talking about that was like a conscious decision, but boy, does he look like him.
I was thinking about Orson Welles, particularly in some like the party scenes. I was thinking about Orson Welles in F for Fake. The scenes like where he's at a restaurant ordering and just being a gadfly and whatever. The other person that he reminded me of in a very strange bit. Do you remember? It's when he's being arrested. And I don't know what specifically made me think about this. Do you remember a video, like it was early internet, very popular video of like the guy, I think he's either British or Australian, getting arrested. And he's like, "Can I not have a succulent Chinese meal?"
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. Have a look at the headlock here. See that chap over there? Get your hand off my penis! This is the bloke who got me on the penis before.
It was totally that guy, and I was just laughing through that whole scene just thinking about that guy.
The other thing, you know, that acting point is kind of good, which makes me not like the movie again, because I hate movies about acting. Shut up. You're not that important. But this movie made me realize, and this is not a detraction from Joaquin Phoenix, but you know when you finally notice a thing about an actor? Joaquin Phoenix thinks that where you put your hands in reference to your hips is acting. Every movie he's got like this, he does like some form of Mick Jagger hand on hips thing.
Yeah.
And he does it so much in this one. Like this one, he's got the dad looking at the yard going, "Yep."
Yeah.
Like kind of hand motion.
Well, there's definitely, you can see aspects of this performance in Arthur Fleck and Joker. That same kind of like real shriveled, angular body being posed in weird ways. Yeah, he's a freak, but he's our freak, and we love him.
Oh, well, you know what we should talk about too. Do you know much about the whole the Phoenix family escaping from the Church of God
No.
thing?
No.
So the Phoenixes, and I could be getting this wrong, but allegedly, you know, in broad strokes, this is the story. I'm sure I got all the details wrong, but their last name was, I think it was like Bottom or something like that. I was reading, but they were in I guess the 60s or 70s at Church of God, which was some like super severe culty kind of church thing that they had to, like the stories refer to them escaping from the Church of God. And that's when they changed their last name to Phoenix. And their kids, they named them all wacky shit like River and Leaf and stuff.
Wow.
But that's somewhat mimicked in the there's a whole Phoenix sequence in this movie.
That's wild.
Yeah. I wish I had known more, but like I read that and I was like, I could delve more into this, but it's gonna make me sad. And I don't want.
Oh yeah.
Because you know, I'm a raw nerve of a man, and I don't need to. I'm good. I'm finally getting around to being able to watch like campy horror movies. I'm not to the point that I can read about actual horrors in real life.
Which that puts me in mind too. You're talking about the cult sort of being too nice. I do think that when Freddy kind of comes back after like they get arrested and they have that whole fight and whatever, then Freddy ends up sort of coming back, but he makes Freddy go.
Wait, is that after he went to? That's after he goes to Manhattan.
They're also at Laura Dern's house. So they're in like Philadelphia, I think. So like when he comes back and he and Philip Seymour Hoffman like wrestle on the lawn, and you know Amy Adams' character's like you can't drink anymore and all this stuff. Is that in the interim to that, like Lancaster Dodd has talked to his family where Rami Malek's all like, well, that guy, he's bad. He's probably a spy. We should get rid of him. Philip Seymour Hoffman's like, well, if he's not learning, then haven't we failed him? And so I think there's this increased thing on his part of, okay, we need to increase his processing to fix this wild animal. But at the same time, also consciously or not, really punishing him and really like putting him through the psychological ringer because of like the shit he's pulled as well. I think there's an element of not revenge. There's a word I'm looking for, but he's trying to get back and humiliate him. And like when he's making him pace back and forth and like touch the wall and window, that seems way more like a punishment kind of situation than anything sort of enlightening.
So the master, when he's doing that, what's the teaching? Like in his head, what is he trying to teach there? Or is this just he literally just wants him to walk back and forth and do crazy shit, and then if something happens, he goes, "Oh, beautiful. That's exactly the point of this."
That's the sense I got from it. You know, you could argue this thing, you know, or he would argue this thing rather about like the repetitive motion would put you into this trance that would connect you, that would free your mind to go do these other things. I don't know. But yeah, it just seems like he's punishing him in this bullshit that's like, it's wrapped up in help when really it's just, he's fucking with him. But yeah, it's this thing of like, well, if something comes out of this, I'll be a genius. I mean, ultimately, I think this is a movie about two men that just should have had a podcast. Like this is what men were like before they were able to podcast together.
I had this thought, and this is vaguely related, but I think it's funny enough, that we are so lucky that the internet and podcasting didn't happen in the 70s. Because imagine podcasting, but at the height of the cocaine craze. Like, just imagine this show, but we're both gacked to the fucking gills. Oh boy, like it would be fucking insufferable. I mean, more than it already is. But oh man. So anyway, I'm gonna invent a time machine.
I don't remember if we talked about this on the show before, but there's famously a quote from Fiona Apple, who used to date Paul Thomas Anderson, that said that she got completely turned off of cocaine after one coke-fueled night hanging out with P.T. Anderson and Quentin Tarantino and listening to them talk about movies. And then just went, I'm fucking done with this stuff. And I love both those guys.
Yeah, I read that article. I think I said that to you on Twitter.
Yeah, like that sounds like a nightmare.
Just imagine all those kind of nowhere shows with guys that don't have much of a personality, but they're like, no, me and my buddies were hilarious. But they're all on coke and making jokes about that one time Larry was golfing.
Right.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And they're just all talking at once. Yeah. And I think some of that, the time and placement of this too, speaking of that, sort of matters. Cause like you were saying, like this is everyone's very repressed, but it's a time of big change for these people, like coming back from the war, that you've won what could be argued to be the only sort of like just war we've been involved with in the 20th and 21st century. And then, so you have all that trauma and stuff happening. And then you're brought back into this new world that's not exactly like it was when you left. And all this stuff is changing. There's actually psychology is becoming more of a thing. Just the way of life is changing entirely. And so I think some of that's like him trying to deal with that as well. That is also provides fertile ground for Dodd to do his bullshit.
On that note, so early in the movie opens up with Freddy making a ass of himself in front of his fellow soldiers. He pretends to fuck a sand mermaid kind of thing, and it doesn't. We don't have to go into it, but that leads to him having a session with a psychiatrist, and they're doing Rorschach testing. And all the Rorschach thing, everyone is, oh, that's just a cock. That's an upside down cock. That's a cock going in a pussy. And maybe there's no answer for this, but I couldn't get a read on just how unself-aware he is. Like, does he believe that these are valid answers? Is he taking the piss? I can't get a handle on that. And maybe that's what kept me a little bit from connecting to him as much, that he wasn't showing the level of psychosis I want. Maybe just because I'm deeply mentally ill.
No, I'm not entirely sure. I think he's not. I mean, in that case, I think he's saying what he's actually saying. That's just sort of his thing. But I'm not 100% on that, because there are times where he's better than you think he is actually sort of the way I want to put it. Like, he gets into so many fights and stuff like that. But that moment where he's supposed to, like, they're doing that basically like a struggle session with him and Rami Malek where, they're like, look at each other, don't blink, and just say awful shit that comes to your mind, whatever. And Rami Malek starts talking about Doris and all this stuff. And when it's Joaquin Phoenix's turn, he can't do it. He has a hard time like being mean to this man. That was kind of unexpected. And so it was a thing that you talk about him not really changing. And yeah, I'm not sure, because was that something like, oh, the process is working, he's getting in touch with his less animalistic senses, or is it just that he doesn't like to do that? That like, if he gets drunk, because he drinks a lot, we haven't really talked about that, is that he is not only like just drinks booze, but he makes these weird concoctions out of anything, out of missile fuel, out of developing liquid, and it gets into trouble. It's actually
that missile fuel thing apparently is based on a real story. That was like real Navy men or whatever you call them were doing that.
Wow. Because that's what gets him to meet Lancaster Dodd, is he gets a job doing just like some farm labor, like picking lettuce or something, and he's partying with the other people that are working there, and he makes some disgusting booze, and some guy drinks too much of it and basically like almost dies, or possibly dies, we don't know, because Joaquin Phoenix ends up like taking off and running. And that shot of him just running across the field is so pretty. I mean, this whole movie is just gorgeous. Yes.
This movie is gorgeous. Yeah. There's no denying that.
And I like the scene where he comes across Lancaster's yacht, because it's kind of behind him. He's walking and the yacht keeps going in and out of focus, which I think is telling just sort of like also his mental state, and probably he's got the booze going on him, but also just that sort of the selective attention of a drunk. Then he goes and he gets, he stowaways on the boat, and you don't see what happens until the next day. And I like those ellipses that happen in the movie.
The other option with the boat going in and out of focus is waves.
Oh, that's probably it. Yeah. He's on land, though. Or are you talking about land waves? The most dangerous kind.
No. I'm saying the boat was losing focus because it was on waves.
Oh, that's deep, man.
Hear me out, because there's not just one wave, multiple waves.
Oh,
Much like psychology.
hence the S.
Can I have money to make a movie
Yeah,
now?
absolutely. Yeah, please do.
Yeah, the unreality of being a drunk is quite prevalent there, of him just waking up in random places. And that's where the kind of bohemian Jack Kerouac thing
Yeah.
kind of, it just led me astray enough that I don't know, maybe you're not supposed to have your fingers on the character, but I kept wanting him to be less of just like some dummy that's just going on animal instinct. Like, I want him to be like a Kerouac, but he's just like some idiot that wants to fuck. And I guess maybe that annoys me because that's not who I am. And I'm like, I wish I could be dumb and just think with my penis. Like, that sounds great.
Right.
And I don't. I worry about everything.
But I think there's additional layers to him too. Like this is a deeply hurt individual, and like you get little snippets of that in his stories about like his family his father is dead for being a drunk and his mom is in the nut house. You know, the fact that he's like just running away from any problem he has doesn't seem like this is a direct result of stuff experienced in the war. That whatever that was probably didn't help, but he was already like going through some of that stuff anyway. And like when it's revealed that the girl he's pining over is actually like a teen, like she's a sophomore.
I don't know how to word this without sounding like a creep, but I mean this in a historical context. I'm only judging by rock songs of 15 years later, but I feel like 16 was an appropriate age at the time. Not saying right, but I feel like 16 was like, you're allowed to court a 16-year-old even if you're... I mean, Joaquin Phoenix in this movie is like fucking 40, and I think I'm guessing he's playing like 27 because he just got out of the Navy. I feel like, and again, this is very much just based on song lyrics, that was acceptable almost to the 80s, that like 16 was okay.
It was if you were Jerry Seinfeld, but for most people, I think that.
And Jerry Lee Lewis, a lot of the great Jerrys in the world.
Yeah. That's why Ben and Jerry got into ice cream, to impress the child.
So, obviously to a modern audience, 16 is way too young. In America, 16 too young. But like because it's the 50s, I wasn't sure how much to read into that. Because also he seems like he was vaguely aware of that being an issue.
Yes.
Or maybe he just didn't want to get caught. Yeah.
No, it certainly felt like he was aware of it, whether or not it was because he didn't want to get caught or something, but it didn't feel salacious. I don't want to say it didn't feel like he was predatory, but it's like his emotions were genuine and like pure, I think. I mean, for as much something like that can be. But like you said, I think it's a little bit more of it was the style at the time kind of thing. But it did seem like he was leaving his best girl. And he did feel a bit conflicted about how young she was, because he kind of had forgotten. And they're having that conversation and she's like, no, I'm a sophomore. And he's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like he meant well. And so that might have been part of his reason for leaving too, is that fear that, she's too young and I can't make this work. Maybe I'll come back. It could be, there's a bunch of factors that could have led into that. We don't know specifically, but I understand what you're saying about like wanting to get a better grasp on the character, because there is an urge to do that. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I just think there's a thing of like, okay, well, he's this guy. And these are pretty slippery characters overall, that like you kind of expect them to do one thing and maybe the movie goes a different way. So it could be a little, when you're trying to get a grasp of what's going on, it can be frustrating. But if you just sort of, and I don't want to say like just let it go, man, go with the flow. But when you stop, like when you watch a movie the first time or on subsequent viewings of a movie, like I know what's going to happen. So let's really just like see how it happens. I think it rewards repeat viewings.
I'm sure it does. I think I just want slightly more plot, or even just a plot to end. Like, just wrap up the time they got fined. That's fine. Just make something happen at the end that started at the beginning. It doesn't have to be this massive thing, but like when they got fined, that's the exact, just at the end they go, oh, our new donor gave us the $10,000 and now we're allowed to go back into whatever state that was. Perfect. Beautiful. The cult's going to move on. Great. I got my wrap up. But the way it is now, I'm floating the whole movie.
But there is an ending to, like their relationship is over by the time this movie's over.
No, I get that. What I'm saying, like a plot ending, not just like, I get it. It's a character piece.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I guess because both characters are so slippery, I kind of need a little bit more plot for me to have this work as a cohesive work. Mm-hmm. Not even, and again, not like a big plot, just something, even like with Licorice Pizza, he's got his dumb business thing. Perfect. Do that. Just give me something the end thing could be him working on book 3 and toadies are saying, oh, this is going to be the best one yet. Perfect.
Yeah.
Done. I just want something to pay off other than just two guys I don't understand talking to each other.
That's a question for you. He also likes, part of the reason Lancaster Dodd likes Freddie Quill is that, the booze he gives him. And apparently the first night that Freddie gave him some concoction, he felt compelled to write a whole lot. And so that becomes a thing. When he really kind of gets in the zone and is ready to release book 2, and he and Freddie hike up to like the middle of nowhere and uncover a box. And he was like that's my work. That's my previous work. Do you think he just like reprinted that and went, yeah, it's book 2? Or was that, do you think like, okay,
yes,
because that was the impression that I got, that he was like, I wrote some of this stuff before and let's see what I can use with this. Cause I don't want to write. I want to just party.
As a lazy writer, I guarantee you that's exactly what that was. There's two, okay, sorry. I'm going to give you 2 options, both of which there's a brand new book in there. It's slapdash shit that he used to think of. That's why some of the stuff you're like, why did you change the wording? And he changed the wording because he forgot.
Yep.
But the other option is that box is empty. This is a show for Freddie, and the night before he's going to snort amphetamines and just write book 2.
First draft, last draft, get it out the door. Yeah, I got that sense too, because when Laura Dern was like, you changed the thing, and he's like concocts some bullshit answer about it's no longer recalling your past lives. It's now imagining your past lives. That he just tries to weasel his way out of it and then gets pissed at her. It felt like that an earlier version almost, and so that would make some sense. I've read this interview with Paul Thomas Anderson, and he was talking about how like Freddie Quill was actually like a character he'd used in other things. He had a different name at first, but like he like wrote little things that had this kind of character, and then he kind of moved him over here. And the writer was saying,
oh, pre-Freddie Quill.
Yeah.
Prequel. I get it. This is the prequel to Battlefield Earth.
That is correct. Yep. That Freddie Quill ends up becoming the Barry Pepper character from that movie.
Oh God.
But he
way to go remembering who was in that fucking movie other than Travolta. I'm proud of you.
If I had come up with a character name, I would have felt better about myself. But but the interview was saying like there's a story about Joyce Carol Oates that apparently she has this like filing cabinet, and like if you look under S, you might find like snow, and here's all like little snippets of things she's written about snow to use later. Like, oh, I had this idea, this phrase came to mind, so I'll write it down and put it in there. And Paul Thomas Anderson's like, yeah, I kind of have something like that. I think that's a fascinating thing, because I don't, the times I've written anything.
She sounds like a nerd.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. Joyce Carol Oates, totally.
Fucking
but
nerd.
It was, that's very organized. Yeah, I don't know. I just let ideas just kind of happen, and then I go, that was cool, and then I forget about them.
Yeah. I have a lot of notes in my keeps folder that's just like, oh, that's a cool line. That's never going anywhere. Hey, look, another cool line. That's never going anywhere. There's a very long sequence. And another thing, I'm shitting on this movie because I like it. Well, I don't like it, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's a quality work, so I feel like I'm allowed to nitpick a little bit. It starts off a little too slow for me. And the scene the parts that exemplify that is his time as a store photographer. When he's wooing this lady who's like a mink stole saleswoman, she gets introduced. They're playing that Get Behind Me Satan song, which is a weird choice. Also, on the record, we're a pro-Satan podcast, so get in front of me, Satan. You got the wheel. That doesn't... I mean, I guess it shows us a little bit of his personality, but he seems more functional. I don't know. It did nothing for me. I really liked when he kept putting the light too close to that guy. That was worth it for me. But the whole relationship aspect, I don't know. It didn't feel like it added to the character for me at all. It just felt like he wanted to slow play the introduction of Philip Seymour Hoffman, so he just wrote some shit.
Well, I think it's interesting in that whole sequence. In one hand, that's W. Earl Brown, Dan from Deadwood, and which we were also, which just a couple movies ago, was in Vanilla Sky. But that's that character, and he kind of looks like Lancaster Dodd, which I thought was. I mean, a lot of the doughy guys in the 50s look like that.
Yes,
but you wonder if there's some sort of father figure there thing for him. But it's just this sense. I think a lot of that. I mean, it's certainly slower, but I think you have a few things going on there where it's him having the shop and things are going fine, but like not being able to just be a piece of shit. You know, he can't not be a piece of shit, and that could be the booze that he's drinking that's making him do that. One of my favorite bits when they first meet is when he first meets Dodd, or at least we first see them together. And Lancaster Dodd's like, "Oh, you're irritable because you've been drinking alcohol." And he's like, "No, I'm not."
There are some funny lines in this, and that was one of them. But the other, and I did one of those out loud laughs where Philip Seymour Hoffman goes, "I like cools." minty flavor. His comedic timing of the pause between I Like Cools and minty flavor is fucking brilliant. And I'm like, motherfucker, that guy should be in like 7 comedies. But then it turns out that this movie killed him. So,
There is,
because he fell off the wagon in the release party of this movie.
Oh, really?
Which directly leads to him being dead. So this movie killed Philip Seymour
like the
Hoffman.
old-
That's not a real theory, but he did fall off the wagon in the release party.
the old Andy Dick, Phil Hartman's wife, news radio thing.
So we should get John Lovitz to punch Phil.
Yes. I don't even hear the end of that sentence. Yes. But the,
No, that was the end of it. I actually forgot it's P.T. Anderson,
Yeah.
right? Who's the shitty guy that directs like
Paul W.S. Anderson.
Underworld or when? Okay, I was so I stammered there because I was so afraid I was going to say the wrong one. That P.T. Anderson's the one that does the shitty video games.
Yeah, he's the one that did Event Horizon. But there's actually, I was trying to find it, but I was coming up empty. I didn't look that long though. But there's outtakes of that scene where they keep breaking up because he's the like.
It's really funny.
Like minty flavor that they're just like Joaquin Phoenix is losing it and causing Philip Seymour Hoffman to lose it.
I have heard that Plutarch. I honestly just called him Plutarch Heavensby. I'm going to shoot myself in the brain.
What is that? Is that from the Hunger Games?
That is him from the Hunger Games. Yeah. Fuck. I didn't even do that on purpose, man. I literally just said Plutarch Heavensby.
That's a Harry Potter ass name.
I don't have suicidal ideation, but that may have been the closest I've ever come. Because I didn't mean for that to happen. That just, John, say something. I don't even know where
I'm just
I am
imagining
anymore.
like you getting caught in one of those traps from
so
Saw, and it's like, well, you could get out if you could go 5 minutes without making a YA book reference. And then you're like, oh no.
I don't even like those books that much. Like, they're not even close to my heart. I don't.
It's a great name though. I mean, that's a
We should
great
talk.
name.
Yeah, and he's good at those movies, to be fair.
Yeah, he's good in so many things.
We should talk about the best scene in this movie is the first section of the informal processing, aka auditing.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, are those two people good at acting.
Yes.
That is some fucking masterclass stuff. And I think this is really the heart of my being annoyed at this movie because Jesus, they're good with each other. Like, they're both terrific actors, but them together was some kind of fucking magic.
Yeah, it's really powerful stuff, and we've referenced this earlier where it's that he's like, well, let's just do, Freddie's kind of like interested in this processing thing, like you said, it's basically auditing, and it's Philip Seymour Hoffman's like, okay, well, look me in the eyes and don't blink for the next series of questions. You have to answer them very quickly, and it's like, he makes him say his name. What is your name? What is your name? What is your name? Starts out, and he ends up kind of like through this repetition and some of these weirder questions, kind of breaking him down about like he ends up sort of uncovering this thing with Doris, the girl, and he kind of starts breaking down in this way that the psychologists at the hospital he was at after getting discharged from the army couldn't do. And I think this forms a huge part of their relationship in the scene. And you see him like really breaking down and getting upset. Like, I don't know why I left her. I'm an idiot. I don't know why I ran away. But then also being like, give me more, ask me more questions. I'm enjoying this. And that's such just like a strange moment. Like this emotional, and you wonder, like, if you've met anyone like that or are someone like that, you can you recognize that kind of thing of like, oh, you're making me like touch this sore tooth I have. Please keep doing that. Like I'm getting something out of it. And it's not necessarily like a breakthrough. It's just wallowing in your bullshit.
This goes directly to my problem with the cult not coming off kind of weird enough or creepy enough. Mm-hmm. Like, it seems like this. I'm like, I don't care if it's bullshit. That he's having real revelation here. I want that. I like, fuck it. If you got some weird voodoo shit to say to me, no insult to voodoo practitioners, but if you got some weird shit to say to me and make me repeat myself and blah, blah, blah. But if I get to have catharsis, fuck yeah, let's do it. Like, this movie almost makes me want to be like, should I join Scientology?
Yeah.
Because like, it seems like if it's anything like this, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna. I don't have the money. If I had the money, I probably.
Well, I do like that aspect of Freddie, particularly as it goes on, is that he becomes this soldier for Dodd. Where it's like when mentioned the guy that at the party in New York starts like poking holes in Dodd's stuff, and that's when you first see Dodd really blow up at someone. And then Freddie and Rami Malek go and beat the tar out of him later. You start to get the sense that as Freddie is kind of, the people around Dodd don't even really believe him. Like his son is like, he's just making this up as he goes along, and he's about to fight with his son, Dodd's son, before they end up getting arrested for the other stuff. When the second book comes out, you're getting the sense that people aren't as into it. That Laura Dern, who was a big proponent of it, is like, you change the words here, this is weird, and he yells at her. And the guy that introduced him in New York is like, I think this book's shit. And Freddie takes him outside and beats him up. That he's also got these nagging doubts that what Dodd says is worth a damn. So even though he got to him on this emotional level, and yeah, they seem nice, whatever, there's still a part of Freddie that's like, I don't like this. I'm looking for like a loving family that means something. And if this is meaningless bullshit, I'm just going to hit the road again. So he frees himself from that, but he can't get away from it because it's unclear, like towards the end, after he like rides away on the motorcycle or whatever. And then he's in a movie theater and an usher comes up with a phone and is like, no, this is a phone call for you. And it's Lancaster Dodd. Now, I think that's supposed to be a dream sequence.
That is what I,
because like, it seems so strange otherwise, but it's enough for Freddie to, cause like in the dream, Lancaster Dodd is like, why'd you go away? You need to come get me and bring me, I'm in England, bring me some cools. They don't have cools over here. But the way that Dodd kind of reacts when he shows up makes it seem like they've had that conversation, or at the very least, Dodd has harbored those same feelings. Whether or not just about cools, I don't know, but certainly he's excited to see.
Well, maybe there's a reading of this movie that we're not giving credit. Is that maybe Dodd is just right, that they're communicating on some kind of like astral, like the past is the future is the past level, where they know the message and all they need to have their future selves say it. And future Dodd's like, give me some cools, because I like their minty flavor. Go across the ocean. The other part of that, too, is where the fuck did he get the money for Cross-Atlantic Journey in 1956 or whatever the fuck it is at that point?
Yeah, definitely some, like I said, some ellipses there in terms of not just time of how much time has passed throughout this. I mean, some of it you can tell because Amy Adams' character is pregnant and hasn't given birth. So you're like, well, okay, well, so in theory, this is still within this 9-month time frame. But maybe he stole them. Maybe he had some money because he was getting a paycheck from the church or something, or from the cause. I don't know. But I
mean, it's not a big deal.
No,
it just
because I had a
jumps
similar
out.
thought.
Sorry, I was going to make a point, and then because I'm a fucking brain dead idiot, I didn't get to it. The dream sequence leads me back to the nude scene of one of the problems I have with this movie. Is that if you're gonna do unreality as reality and slip into a dream sequence or slip into an illusory sequence, you need to either make that clearer or make it more frequent. Because I don't know where then you kind of wash away the weight of the film. You like any given scene is like, it's a dream sequence.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I keep saying I don't know. I know exactly what I'm saying. I don't like that in a film unless it is either well-established and infrequent or frequent and I don't give a shit about establishing. Get fucking weird. But just like a couple, maybe 3, because then who the fuck knows what other things? Maybe he never beat anybody up. Maybe he was never in the army.
That's why I'm more prone to believe that it's just this one, because it would be this sort of like him regressing almost of like, now that he's untethered from this, he's more untethered from reality, because we actually don't know if he's at that point like fully gone back to drinking developing fluid, don't know what's going on with him, but that like his mental state is more because he doesn't have that unit around him that's barely containing him to begin with. But I see what you're saying, but it did work for me. And then when he gets out there, I love there's a feeling, and I've referenced this before, but with Amy Adams' character, there's a scene earlier with the scene with Amy Adams, and then like here at this moment, you definitely get, I don't want to call it like Lady Macbeth, or that like she's secretly the power behind all of this, but she is a clearly like,
I picked up on that
driving force behind a lot of this. Like she fervently believes and also like feels the need to keep him in check.
Well, that goes to that jerk off scene where she's basically just milking him into a sink. And brave of them to change her name from Margarita. Oh, no, sorry. That was a book with a plot and was good. Sorry. There's a book called... I'm really smart. I know a lot about books. Yeah. There's a book...
The Hunger Games Part 2.
The Master and Margarita.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure. Okay, I've heard of that book. I've not read it. But,
yeah. No, it's like a classic of Russian literature.
But the... But I do like that. Again,
I feel like I kind of made up like a little ground with the audience after that whole Plutarch Heavensbee thing, being pretentious here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Steph Quick respects you more.
I think I'm back to like the solid C- that they're used to.
Yeah, all right. Whew. Much like Freddie Quell, you had the same journey. You had your lows, your ups, and then you kind of, not much has changed, but you've salvaged something.
I am drinking turpentine.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I can smell it from here.
Yeah, I should probably stop, but
There,
it's weirdly tasty.
there is a brand of whiskey called Stillhouse that comes in turpentine, like it looks like a paint can,
Oh,
and it fucking tastes like it. It's awful. It's one of the most heinous things.
and it's called what?
Stillhouse. All right, now a new read from our sponsor, Stillhouse. Oh no.
I know. I heard that as Thrill House,
Yes,
like from
it
The
was
Simpsons.
I think about
And I'm like, that's the best fucking whiskey name I've ever heard in my
every
life.
time I have to put in a name in a video game, I always want to write Thrill House.
Yeah, Thrill Ho.
But yeah, that final moment they have together, where Dodd basically tells Freddy, like, you're either going to come back and be with the cause 100%, or you're never going to come back. Go walk out that door and never come back. And Freddy's like, well, I'll see you later. Maybe in the next life. And I just love this, where Dodd's like, in the next life we will be enemies, and I will show you no mercy.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Like, which again, like, speaks to the deep, like, he's like this deep love that they have, that he's like, you fucking turn your back on me now, we're done forever, and I will, I'll hate you, I hate you. And then he sings the Slow Boat to China, which is funny. Like, it is this kind of like almost sort of sexy moment or something like that. There's this plaintive like lovers thing, but there's also this like dagger twist of that's how he left Doris. He took a boat to China. He sailed away. It seems like Dodd knows that. And I've worked for some shitty people that will do that, or, know some shitty people that will, turn little things you say against you. That I like that even in that parting moment where it seems kind of sweet, there's still that element of very subtle of, hey, fuck you.
Oh, yeah.
Manipulation.
And it was established before where in the actors exercise where they're staring at each other in the eye and not allowed to look away, Rami Malek was saying stuff that he shouldn't know.
Right.
He's like, what about Doris? Like, so obviously Dodd is aware of the way that you can have a power dynamic.
You bring up the acting exercise bit, is that, yeah, I honestly, some of it made me think of the Blade Runner 2049 that interlinked, saying the same words over and over again to test your, how on you are.
Oh,
how
right,
that came
yeah.
from an acting exercise that Ryan Gosling did. And yeah, that's certainly pretty apt. Calling it an acting exercise.
The movie closes up with Mr. Kerouac there picking up some lady in a bar and making some sexy times, and him trying to do oddling with her, or whatever they call it in this movie.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of a happy ending for him, because like, so he's back to doing what he loves, being naked and fucking. But like, yeah, he's trying to form this connection with her. But then the last shot is him back on the beach, and it is like a flashback to him back on the beach, like cuddling up to the sand woman. He's still looking for that, whatever that is. Will this be it? I don't know, but he's still looking. And so there's a little bit of a melancholic thing there. But I do feel like this time around, I felt a little better for Freddy when it ended. I felt like a little bit more positive for him. I still think like he's a mess and he's going to just continue to do whatever, because he is we kind of this a little, but like he's unwilling to or unable to be controlled. He's like, you can try, but he just will fight against against himself to let it happen. He's a wanderer. I like that it's not necessarily like 100% judgmental about that. It's not like, well, yes, that's bad, you need to have family or whatever. He still wants that, but maybe he's learning that he doesn't. He's on his way to learn that that's not the answer. I don't know. Or looking for a pure form of that. But it didn't feel as morose to me this time around.
I found the ending, again, I've only seen it the once, so I found the ending a little morose, that it's, the catharsis that he had early in the film through, obviously bullshit means, didn't really do anything. All it gave him was a new way to try to figure out intimacy that doesn't work. Or, I mean, maybe it'll work, but like, it seems like it's written as like, oh, you picked up a girl at a bar, so the first thing you try to do is is hardcore intimacy instead of,
like, I love you,
it seems like no lessons. Yes. It seems like there was no lessons learned from him, and that's fine. And I just go, I know I'm harping on this point, but like, there was just a coda after this or before this where just something about Dodd's thing, like, hey, we're a #1 bestseller.
But I mean, I think the fact that he has this large school in England tells you things are going pretty well for him.
No, I don't even care about it. I just want like
something to be tied up.
Concrete thing. Yeah. Or like even his wife leaving him, just a thing that pays off from the beginning of the movie. You met the wife in the beginning of the movie. something happens to her at the end. Perfect, done. I'm not asking for deep interlinked plots that you need to write down on a piece of paper and draw lines between. Just a thing, just anything. But instead we've got an interesting character piece.
To me, I think the relationship between the men is that thing. And I think it is just about life's not over for either of them. They're going to continue on doing what they're doing, but this part of them together on this journey is done. And neither of them will be the same because of this, for good or ill. I don't think how much Freddy has learned, I think is debatable, but I do think there is a change in Freddy. Whether or not he wants to admit it, is another thing, given that he runs away from everything. But I think showing that immediately, that more desperate, I love you, sort of sense, that really I'm really just looking to connect. That's what this is. That's going to change him going forward, and whether or not that's positive. Yeah, I don't know. But it does seem like he is still going to stay on the same path he is. But I do think that it is just really about this relationship more than anything else. So that element of it didn't bother me. But at the same time, I completely acknowledge what you're saying. I understand what you're saying 100%.
The other really important note I want to make about this movie is when they are in, right before they go to Phoenix, Dodd is wearing this immaculate bowling shirt that is such a 50s thing that so the audience know, there's not a lot of pictures of me out there. I wear all black. That's just a thing. I've been doing it for, decades now. I was looking at that going, man, in another life, I would love to be a bowling shirt guy. That was a swanky ass 50s bowling shirt. I'm maybe I reinvent myself. Maybe I start dressing as a 50s bowler.
Mm-hmm. I went to a time in high school, finding work shirts at Goodwill and wearing them, old janitor shirts or
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm I liked those. I should bring those back.
No, in the 90s, that was cool.
Exactly. That was that was some Gen X shit. And I'm man, I'll bring that back. Wear that that t-shirts cool. Over long sleeve shirts. I'm bringing that back. That was a cool look.
Fuck it. Well, I actually still do that. Honestly, I do that at work because it's cold. So although I spent this entire episode saying the problems I have with this movie, it is it's an incredible work of art. Everybody should watch it. Everybody should get your own opinion on it. I wanted more because it's so close to being it's so close to being top 5. Holy shit! I can't believe this movie ever got made. It's transcendently great. And because it's so close, the stuff that was lacking just jumps out at me. But yeah, holy shit! If you haven't seen this movie, go watch this movie immediately. Well, first, go to our Patreon and sign up. Patreon.com/AlexBollen, AlexBollen. Sign up, and then watch this movie.
Yes, and then sign up for some free auditing after you pay the fee.
I'll audit you. If you sign up for Patreon, I'll add that as a tier. I'll audit the shit out of you.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I'll make you hold on to some kind of shock dildo thing and be tell me about your parents, and then you can give me all your money.
It's worked for me. Look at me now.
I can't apologize more.
Do you have any recommendations for this week?
I don't have a recommendation because nothing I watch is ever good, but I can talk about a movie I watched, which is rare because I want to be a guy that hosts a movie show that actually watches movies.
That's a noble endeavor.
Well, generally just watch the ones we do for the show and then watch TV shows. So, did I talk about AI last time?
You talked to me about it when we met for lunch, but we didn't.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I forgot we see each other in real life. All right. So 2 movies real quick. I rewatched AI, the Steven Spielberg movie that was supposed to be Kubrick. Fucking weird ass movie. It's strange. I highly recommend it. It's not an amazing movie, but it is such an artifact of its time, and it's just really interesting piece. But one of the scenes that was just the least predictive future ever. So 1,000 years from now, Manhattan has been both flooded and then frozen over, and they cut to 1,000 years from now, and there's this archaeological dig going on in Manhattan. And above the water line, ice line, you can see the Chrysler Building and the torch of the Statue of Liberty, and then both the Twin Towers sticking out over the top. Yeah, and I got it, man. I think the movie was made in 99 or whatever. There's no way you could have known, but man, that is a fucking weird ass thing to see in a movie in 20 whatever fuck year it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so I watched that, and then as a full out, oh my God, this movie sucks, but I really enjoyed watching it, I inexplicably watched Jurassic World Dominion.
Oh God.
So it's sort of the master's fault because Laura Dern's in that. I went, Laura Dern. I'm like, oh yeah, she came back for Jurassic Park, didn't she? I should watch that. It's Roland Emmerich level, or who's the other guy that blows up the Earth all the time? Michael Bay. It's like a Michael Bay level movie that if you can turn your brain off, there's enough stupid shit that you're like, I can watch this. If you're paying attention at all, or like want a plot, or like anything to happen that's remotely good, this is not the movie for you. But if you're someone that remembers that Jeff Goldblum says funny stuff in a funny voice, boy, this is bringing the fucking This is bringing the
A friend
heat.
of mine showed me a clip from it where it's like they're reacting to like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then they're like, "We got to get out of here," and then like slowly shuffle away. It's just like because they're all old
Yes,
now. It's
yeah.
like, oh man.
Yeah. There is a lot of that. And they honestly do a pretty good job to cover up how old they all are for the most part, but there are some scenes where it is abundantly clear they are not in peak athletic shape.
I think there's going to be an interesting look at like if 10 years from now, if everything hasn't completely burned up or fallen apart or whatever, like looking back at like the career of Chris Pratt and how weird his trajectory is like funny fat guy to action hero man, and how just wild that is. I'm like, they did the same thing with Jim from The Office, and it's just, I don't get it, man. Cause I liked him so much better that way.
Jim from The Office he's good in that Tom Clancy show
Jack
he is
Ryan.
on Amazon. Yeah. I don't even know if that's Tom Clancy. But
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking
absolutely.
about.
That's Tom Clancy. That's like the Tom Clancy guy. That was Harrison Ford in those movies.
Well, I get him in James Patterson confused
That's fair. That's more
because I'm pretty
than
sure
fair.
they're the same human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One wears a hat.
What about you, John? Do you have any recommendations?
I do. I rewatched. Well, I sort of got reacquainted with the works of S. Craig Zahler this weekend. I watched. Just came to Netflix. Dragged Across Concrete with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn, and it's basically a dark, gritty version of Lethal Weapon. And it's like taken to its logical extremes. It's shitty cops versus even worse criminals. Everyone in this movie is awful, but it's so just like stripped bare and mean and grimy. I loved it. And I was reminded of a previous work of his with Vince Vaughn, Brawl in Cell Block 99, which I watched. That was on Tubi, I think. And again, it's this very like slow, stripped down, just grimy exploitation movie about a guy that is like a drug runner and ends up going to jail and has to go to like this crazy cartoon evil prison and fight some guy. But at the very beginning, like when Vince Vaughn finds out his girlfriend's been cheating on him, he like tears apart her car by hand. It's like the bonus stage in Street Fighter, but real.
That's
but
fun.
These are,
Yeah.
like I said, these are just like mean exploitation movies, and they're a lot of, I really enjoy it. I don't want to say they're a lot of fun, but they're great. And it just put you in the mood for more of that. There's an Italian style of movies or genre, Poliziotti or something like that. That's like these 70s gritty crime dramas they were making during the years of lead. And there's a bunch of those that were, some of them were on Criterion and Arrow. And I watched one called Caliber 9 that was, gritty and everyone in it is terrible. But, oh man, the fashion in the interior decoration is fantastic. So those three are my recommendations: Drive Across Concrete, Brawl of Cell Block 99, and then Caliber 9. All good stuff. If you like crime stuff and don't want wacky Mel Gibson, you want angry Mel Gibson.
And if you want to catch up with Plutarch Heavensbee, you want to be watching whichever movie he was
I
in.
think the second one. Isn't he the president? Or
I
no,
know
Donald
he's-
Sutherland's the president.
He is the game guy, the games maker.
Oh, maybe he is in the first one.
He's
I
not
really
in the
don't
first
remember
one. I'm not sure if he's in the second one. He's definitely in the third, and I think they used clips of him in the fourth because he died before that one. Yeah.
And I was also say, if you like Philip Seymour Hoffman, absolutely check out Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. I mean, he's good in anything, but he's really, really good in that.
Yeah. He also plays Plutarch Heavensbee.
That's who he plays in that movie.
John, next episode of this podcast will mark 150 episodes
Good
of
God.
John and Alex Hate Stuff.
Oh my God.
There is no good God. There is no just God, for this show keeps going.
That's true.
So in honor of 150 episodes, yeah, fuck you and your puffy jacket, which no one's going to get that reference, but there's a deep fake of him in a puffy jacket today
He
on
looks
the internet.
great. Yeah.
I honestly, yeah, it looks like a comfy jacket. So we're going to do, continuing the trend of episode 1 of the show, it was Christopher Nolan's Batman. Episode 50 of our show was the one that came after Batman with the Joker in it.
The Dark Knight.
Episode 100 of the show was the shitty one with Bane. And now, episode 150, we're going to watch John Take It Away.
the Batman. Matt Reeves, the Batman. The Batman.
No. It's German for the Bart. The.
Der Bat.
Yes, this is the first of the DC Extended Universe films.
The ones The Rock hasn't fucked up yet.
So we're gonna do the John and Alex Hate Stuff tradition of every 50 episodes doing a Batman movie. And
Doing
since
the
Christopher Nolan is a quitter. We're gonna be the Batman.
Yeah.
So check it out, and we will catch up with you next episode.
Goodbye.
Bye.